Screen.
Open the PowerPoint, that's all. Your screen is seen.
Oh, no, it's okay?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I welcome you all for today's virtual meeting. And this meeting is a very special meeting for me. I've been to Varanasi many times, and recently, last month, about 25 days back, we went there. Varanasi has transformed. Varanasi is so beautiful, pristine, and clear. The greatness of Varanasi is something phenomenal, which I thought I should share with you all. And that's why I skipped my second part of Mamallapuram lecture, which is to be done. And I've scheduled this lecture, Varanasi, the holy city of India, today. Once again, I welcome you all for this virtual meeting, and we go into this meeting today. Varanasi is a very holy place, and it's the place of Shiva. Shiva, as Vishveshwara, is residing in Varanasi. Adi Shankaracharya has composed a beautiful hymn of Vishwanatha comprising of 8 stanzas of slokas in praise of Vishwanatha. Let's start today's presentation with the praise of Lord Vishwanatha. Ganga Taranga Ramaniya Jata Kalapam Gauri Nirantara Vibhushita Vama Bhagam Narayana Priyamananga Madhapakaram Varanasi Purapatim Bhaja Vishwanatham. He says, the Ganga is flowing like the matted locks of Shiva, Jata. And he is one who's residing here in Varanasi with his consort Parvati in his Vama Bhagam. And he is praised by Narayana and the Vishnu. And that great Shiva is residing here in Varanasi, Varanasi Purapatim Bhaja Vishwanatham. This is the first stanza in which he talks about the greatness of Vishwanatha. And finally, in the 8th stanza, he says, Varanasi Purapate Savam Shivasya Vyakya Tamas Tat Kamitam Pate Manushya Vidyam Shriyam Vipula Saukya Mananta Kirtim Saubhag Samprapta Deva Nilaye Labatete Moksha. He says Varanasi is a place of Shiva. Everywhere it is Shiva. And this Manushya Janma goes in search of Shiva, and he gets what he gets in Varanasi when he goes and sees Varanasi Vishveshwara. He gets Vidya, the knowledge, Shriyam, the wealth, and Vipula Saukyam, good health, and Ananta Kirti. He gets glory. And all this is happening because Vishveshwara is residing here, and this is the place he is also giving the moksha. So that is the greatness of Kashi as praised by Adi Shankaracharya. The Vishveshwara's greatness is being praised in this Ashtakam. Adi Shankaracharya, who lived in Kashi, had composed many hymns in praise of Lord, the gods there in Kashi. And he is also describing the greatness of Kashi in his one stavam called Kashi Panchakam, comprising of 5 slokas. He gives this profound Vedic philosophy of Advaita through Kashi. And it's something phenomenal to understand how Adi Shankaracharya is connecting Kashi with ourselves and our Atman very clearly in this. Manovritti Paramopa Shantihi Sata Satirtha Varya Manikarnikacha Jnana Pravaha Vimalati Ganga Sakashika Nijabhuta Srupa. In this, he says, Manikarnika is the holiest god in Kashi to bathe in Ganga. The one who comes there with free mind and thoughts and who is in search of truth, the flowing Ganga is the embodiment of jnana there. And our intellect is represented there as Kashi Kshetram. In the second stanza, he says, the world is Maya of movable and immovable things. Our mind is the gift of Ishvara, which represents the Satchitananda Swarupam of Ishvara. Kashi represents the Atma, and that is the beauty of Kashi. He says it very beautifully in this. In the third stanza, he says, our human body is made of panchakoshas. You know, our body is made of panchendriya, panchakoshas and all. The panchakoshas are Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Jnanamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and all these panchakoshas are there. It comprises of food. Everything is there in this body. And the most important buddhi, which is there in this body, is represented as Bhavani Devi, the consort of Ishvara, Parvati. And she is there residing in everybody. And Ishvara is the Atman who is residing in us. And Kasi is the Atma Swarupam, where I realize the Atman in me. That is wonderful Kashi. And that's how Adi Shankara explains the beauty of Kashi as Atma Swarupam. Again, in the fourth stanza, which is a wonderful one, he says, in this human body which is known as Thula Sharira, the Sharira which is not going to live long, it's going to perish. And in this Thula Sharira, Kashi stays as an Atma. The Atma inside our body is Kashi. And it resides in this body and it also shines and glows. A sadhaka who wants to understand that Atma, again which is his Kashi, gains the moksha, which is also Kashi. What a beautiful one of words he has used in this composition here. And finally he says, Kashi is this Sarira. Ganga, the flowing Ganga of Kashi is our mind. The next Kshetra of Gaya represents Bhakti and Shraddha. And the third Kshetra, Prayaga, which is the confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, is Guru Seva. When all these three great pilgrim centers are there in our own body, Sarira, Atman is Ishvara, and Kashi is that particular place which makes me to understand this Ishvara. So that is the greatness of Kashi explained in such wonderful words by the compositions of Adi Shankara, which is connected with the profound philosophy of Advaita, and he's beautifully bringing and merging this with the philosophy of Advaita and the Kshetra of Kashi. Varanasi, Banaras, Kashi, whatever name you call that, is the holiest city of our country, which is situated on the banks of river Ganga in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Varanasi is one of the oldest and continuously been inhabited city. Our scriptures call this city as Kashi. This Kashi name is associated with a kingdom that ruled over this place of this region some 2,500 years ago. Even in Mahabharata, we have the mention of Kashi. When Bhishma Pitamaha comes to Kashi, takes Amba and Ambalika, to get them married off to his stepbrother, Vichitran. Kashi Raja's daughters are these two, Amba and Ambalika. So that way, Kashi has got a very long history, and it is there in existence for thousands of years. This is considered as one among the Mokshapuris. In our Hindu scriptures, we call 7 Mokshapuris: Ayodhya, Maya, Mathura, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika, Puri, Dwaravati, Tate, Saptaite, Mokshadayaka. So one of the most important Mokshapuris is Kashi, and that is the beautiful Kashi. Kashi is the land of knowledge and higher learning. The city is considered to be the seat of our great religion, the Sanatana Dharma. This beautiful city of Kashi is considered as the greatest seat for our Sanatana Dharma, which is being inspired by so many people all over the world. The name Varanasi is derived from the name of the 2 rivers that confluence with Ganga in the north and the south of the city. The whole city, which is located on the north of the Ganges, is bounded by Varuna river and Ashi river. The land in between these 2, Varuna and Ashi river, is known as Varanasi. Ganga flows here in the city of Kashi as Uttaravahini. She flows to the north side of the city. There, any river that flows to the north of the city is considered to be a holy place. And even in Coimbatore, Perur, the Kshetram is so holy because the Noyal River, Kanchima Nadi, flows north of this. It's called as Dakshina Kasi. So the north, any river that flows to the north of the city is known as a very holy place. Sanskrit, Kashika means the shining one. So Kashi means the shining place of knowledge, shining place of moksha, the shining place for everything is Kashi. That's why it gets the name Kashi. It's also known as the Avimukta Kshetra, meaning the place is never forsaken Shiva. Kashi is a land you find thousands and thousands of Shiva temples everywhere. Be it a temple on the gullies, or be it a temple like Vishwanatha Swami temple, or many other temples like Kedarishwara and so many big temples, or the small Shiva lingas that is seen all over the ghats of Kashi. And even inside the houses, there are many such Shiva lingas pratishtas there. Probably, if you go slightly below the earth surface level, you'll find out so many Shiva lingas coming up. So this is one beautiful Avimukta Kshetra where Shiva is being there and is been living there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Kashi is also known as Anandakana, meaning a forest of bliss. Kashi is also known as Rudravasa, meaning the place where the Rudra, Shiva, resides here. And it's also known as Mahasmasana, the greatest cremation ground in this world. Mahasmasana. Excavations done in 2014 led to the discovery of artifacts dating back to 800 BCE. Further excavation at Akta and Ramnagar, the 2 sites in the vicinity of the Kasi city, unearthed artifacts dating back to 1800 BCE. And that shows from that time onwards, the city has been inhabited, which is roughly approximately about 3,800 years. 3,800 years plus the city is still thriving. And it is the place of our Sanatana Dharma, the oldest city we could call it in this planet Earth. The celebrated Chinese traveler Yuan Sang, who visited the city around 635 CE, attested the city was the center of religious and artistic activities, and it extended almost about 5 kilometers along the western banks of River Ganga, which is true and which is clear description of the present city of Kashi. Look at those gullies of Kashi. Narrow gullies. This proves that Kashi has been there for so many thousands of years. These are the main roads. When we did not have vehicles, four-wheelers, trucks, and things like that, only people used to walk and go by bullock carts. The roads were so narrow. And this is the gully of the Kashi, which speaks that this particular city has been living for thousands and thousands of years. The city's religious importance continued to grow after 8th century when Adi Shankaracharya established this beautiful city of Kashi as a seat of Advaita after writing his commentary on Brahmasutra Bhasha, which was blessed by Vedavyasa, and he also established the worship of Vishwanatha in this Kshetram of Kashi as the supreme lord of this universe, Vishwanatha, the lord of the universe. So that was done. Kashi shot into prominence during the 8th century onwards. The Ghats of Varanasi, the Ghats, the riverfront steps leading to the banks of Ganga. The city has got some 84 Ghats. Most of the Ghats are meant for bathing and doing pujas and rituals and for ceremonial purposes. Well, there are two dedicated Ghats, Manikarnika and Harishchandra, which are exclusively used as the cremation sites. Apart from that, 82 Ghats and Kashi are meant for all the purposes of puja, worship, dhyana, whatsoever you call it. So you can imagine how much of vibration is there lingering around these Ghats of Kashi. 82 Ghats, people, thousands and thousands of people come and do the pujas and so many meditations and things like that. The place is vibrating with energy and speaking of the great Sanatana Dharma. Most of the Ghats in Varanasi are rebuilt during the 18th century by the Maratha, mostly by the Maratha patronage. The royal patterns like Scindias, Holkars, Bhonsles, Peshwas, and many Rajas, including that of the Nepal, have contributed in building many of these Ghats in this wonderful city of Kashi. Many Ghats are associated with legendary and mythological aspects, while some of the Ghats have private histories also attached to them, like the Tulsi Ghat. This is the place where Ramayana was written by great son Tulsidas. There are many Ghats in the city of Kashi. Asi Ghat, Dasaswamedha Ghat, Manikarnika Ghat, Raj Ghat, Scindia Ghat, Manmandir Ghat, Lalita Ghat, Tulsi Ghat, Panchaganga Ghat, and so on and so forth. These Ghats are something phenomenal and beauty that is to be seen. This is the first Ghat that we see, Asi Ghat, where the river Asi comes and emerges with Ganga here. This is the first Ghat of Kashi, which is Ashi Ghat. The next Ghat is Reva Mahal Ghat. Again, a beautiful Ghat with like of a palace. Reva Mahal was built here, and this is called as Reva Mahal Ghat. You have Tulsi Ghat. This is the place where Tulsidas sat and wrote Ramayana. You have the Jain Ghat here. The Jain temple is there, a Jain Ghat. You have the Prabhu Ghat. And of course, the Chet Singh Ghat, a beautiful structure of yesteryears. That is the Shivalaya Ghat. What you saw there was Shivalaya Ghat. Next to Shivalaya Ghat is the Harishchandra Ghat. This is the small, what you call, cremation ground of Kashi city. The main cremation ground is Manikarnika, and this is the smaller one. Harishchandra Ghat is very important ghat. This is the place where Raja Harishchandra was engaged here by the Dons, Don Maharaja of Kashi, to cremate bodies. So this is named after Raja Harishchandra. So this is Harishchandra Ghat. And you have the Vijayanagaram Ghat. The Vijayanagar kings have built this beautiful ghat called the Vijayanagaram Ghat. And Kedar Ghat. This is a beautiful ghat, very close to this Harishchandra Ghat. There's a temple of Kedareshwara, which is built in total Dravidian style, and the temple pujas and everything have been carried out in the typical Dravidian style of Agama and things like that. It's such a beautiful ghat. This is the Kedar Ghat. And this is Nitpaya Ghat. Next one is Raja Ghat. You have Rana Mahal Ghat. You have Darbhanga Ghat. Again, you have Munshi Ghat, Ahalyabai Ghat. This is the ghat that was built by Ahalyabai Holkar, who renovated this temple of Vishwanatha, and this is named after her as Ahalyabai Ghat. And this is Manmandar Ghat. You have the Manikarnika Ghat, the Mahasmashan of Kashi, the Manikarnika Ghat, which we'll see in detail later, the Bonsle Ghat, and so on. So many ghats are there, innumerable ghats, Panchganga Ghat. So many ghats are there all over Kashi. 84 of them are there. Of the 84 ghats built along the banks of Ganga, all have some significance and some importance attached to them. According to our Puranas and scriptures, two ghats have got more of prominence in this Kashi. The first one is Dasashwamedha Ghat, and the second one is the Manikarnika Ghat. These two ghats lead. Why it's so important? These two ghats are the ones which lead directly to the temple of Vishwanatha in those days. The gully that takes from these two ghats lead you directly to the temple of Vishwanatha. Dasashwamedha Ghat gets its name because it is believed here that Brahma performed 10 Ashwamedha Yagas. And he performed all these 10 Ashwamedha Yagas on the banks of this river Ganga at this particular place, thereby requesting Shiva to come and occupy this holy place of Kashi and be the Vishwanatha to bless this universe. So that's why this particular ghat is so important and called as Dasa Ashwamedha Ghat. Hence, all the rituals that are performed in this particular ghat is said that it has multiple levels of beneficence that you get from this. This is the Dasa Ashwamedha Ghat you see here. A very beautiful ghat. You see a lot of umbrellas. Thousands and thousands of people converge here every day to do the rituals. And this is such a vibrating place here, the Shashwamedha Ghat. There are many temples also located here. In the Kashi Ghats, every corner you find a temple, huge temple. Thousands and thousands of Shivalaya are there. See this? Another close-up view of the Shashwamedha Ghat. And the evening Ganga Harti is performed here in the Shashwamedha Ghat. 6:30 in the evening, people converge from all over by boats, by road, everything. They sit around this Dasashwamedha Ghat. Some people sit along the banks of the Ganga. Some people float on the Ganga to watch this beautiful, wonderful Harti that's been offered to Ganga Maya. This Aarti is such a fascinating one. Everybody likes to see this. And very synchronized manner, these young boys do the Aarti with the prayers to Ganga, which gives you a very, very special feeling watching this wonderful event taking place on the banks of the Ganga. Look at that wonderful Ganga Aarti being performed. Now we come to the next important ghat, the Manikarnika Ghat. Manikarnika Ghat is the Mahasmasan of Kashi. This is the place where they cremate the bodies. Hundreds of bodies are cremated 24/7, 365 days. It is said that the funeral pyre of this ghat is never shut for thousands and thousands of years. It keeps burning there in this Manikarnika Ghat. It is believed that the body of the cremated person has no rebirth and he directly attains moksha. That's why people from the nearby villages also do come, bring the bodies here to Manikarnika to cremate them. Manikarnika is managed by a particular community of people called as Dom. The head of this Dom community is a king. He is known as Dom Raja. We'll have to know a lot about this Dom and the Dom Raja in coming slides. It is said this Manikarnika is a Shakti Peeth. This is the place where the Kundala of Sati Devi fell here when Shiva was dancing with the half-burnt body of Sati in Kailash. Mahavishnu cut it into pieces with chakra, and that Kundala fell here, and that fell at this very spot, and that's why it is called as Manikarnika. It is one particular story of why it is called Manikarnika. There's another legend that dates back to the time even before the Ganga came into this world. One day, Shiva and Parvati, in the guise of normal human being, were seated on the steps of a kund, which is called as Manikarnika Kund, which is now known as Manikarnika Kund. And this is the kund. They were sitting there and enjoying the beautiful evening there. And few other people were sitting around the kund doing their evening Sandhya Vandanam and things like that. They were all Brahmin priests who were doing that. So when Shiva and Parvati were together, Shiva hugged Parvati and she wriggled off from that. So where she wriggled off, her earring, may I request you to kindly mute, please? May I request you to kindly mute? Who's this? Padmini Kannan, please mute. If you're not going to mute, I'm not going to talk. They were sitting on this beautiful, and Shiva tried to hug her. Her earring fell inside this kund. The moment its earring fell, Shiva requested all the people there who were sitting there and doing some evening prayers, asked them to find out for this beautiful Karna Kundala. So all of them went in search for it. 6 of them came and said, look, we did not find it. The 7th person also came and said, he did not find it. But Shiva, being who he is, he knew that this person is telling a lie because he had taken this beautiful Karnakund and kept by himself. And he is telling lie that he did not find it. Shiva was furious and he gave a curse to that person. Henceforth, you will become a Chandala. So that's how the Chandala's birth from a Brahmin community happened in this Manikarnika. This is a very beautiful kund, even today that is existing. And on a particular holy day, thousands of people come to have this holy bath at this Manikarnika kund, which is there right above the Manikarnika Ghat. And it's in the small narrow gully that leads you to the Manikarnika Ghat. So Chandala was born, and that immediately he falls at the feet of Shiva and asks him to forgive him for all that mistake he has done. Thereby, Shiva says, I have already cursed you to become a Chandala. You can never become anything else. So you can be a Chandala, but I give you a boon that you will be known as Dom Raja. And then he says, you will be doing my work. On behalf of me, you will be doing the work of giving moksha to all the sariras that are burnt here. It is said, when the sariras are burnt here, by the fire given by this Doom community. Normally in any other place, the fire is taken along with the preta to the burning ghats, and then they do the cremation there. But for all the bodies in Kashi, the fire is given by this Doom Raja. He gives a fire by just lighting it up with a bunch of darba and gives that, and that fire is what is used for cremation of the bodies. So that is the importance of this Doom community and Doom Raja here. And the first 5 logs used for burning the cremation body is also donated by these Doom Rajas. So this particular Doom community, it's still thriving there in this wonderful land of Kashi. And they have very, very peculiar things that they have it. They have certain customs which they follow for thousands of years. All this Doom community today, it's about 5,000 people. They live on the banks of the Ganga, close to Manikarnika Ghat or Harishchandra Ghat. This particular Doom community is engaged only in doing the Smashana work. They bring the logs of wood. Thousands and thousands and thousands of kilos of logs and logs of woods are brought here. It is said that any given point of time, more than 1 lakh of body can be burnt with the amount of wood that has been accumulated here. Like that, all these woods are taken from nearby forests. They are brought by trucks, and from the main road, it is carried individually by persons to this Manikarnika Ghat, because there are narrow lanes, you cannot bring any vehicle there. So it is carried manually and brought and stacked up and kept here. So this Doom Raja community is the one who gives the first, donates the 5 logs used for burning. And they take the fire from the burning pyre to light up the kitchen in the early morning. Even today, that is being absorbed by this community. And they say because of that, they never fall sick, they never fall ill or anything. And they say that is the custom that they have been following. It's a fantastic thing that is there. And this particular aspect of this has all been described in one beautiful movie also, which we saw. It's called Mashan, which was acted by the Vicky Kaushal and so on. It's there in the Netflix or something. You can see that. So this particular community is engaged in such a beautiful service to the human society. And that recognition of this community was given by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. When Narendra Modi contested in 2019 from this Varanasi constituency, his nomination was proposed by the then Doom Raja here, some Chaudhary, I forgot his name, Chaudhary. He was the proposer for Narendra Modi. And later, he honored him with this Padma Shri title also. So that is the greatness of this community, which we do not know. They are engaged in this particular kriya of only burning the human bodies. They all know how to clearly handle this, see that every portion of the body is burned and the ashes alone are given. Such wonderful task of work they are doing there. And that is happening in the Mahasmashan of Manikarnika. Look at that beautiful Manikarnika Ghat. Thousands and thousands of bodies are cremated every year. See, in spite of this being a cremation ground where today it is all developed very beautifully, not on the banks, but everywhere the flooring is done and small structures are made to make it more scientifically and better. But here, when you go sit there and stand there, the amount of vairagya that you develop in your mind is something phenomenal. If you spend 15 minutes there, you see a body being cremated, your mind immediately opens up and says, what is this? What is this life which I have led? Somebody is treating me like this. My relatives are hanging around, talking some nonsense. Nobody has been bothered about my death or anything. This is what is going to happen to me. Why am I living like this? What are all that I have done? What all I've done? Am I good? Am I bad? All these thoughts get into your mind and totally gives you a transformation. It's called a vairagya develops here in this beautiful Manikarnika. And any siddhi, if you want to do a mantra siddhi, you go sit in the ghats of Manikarnika and do the mantra siddhi, be it a Gayatri Japam or anything. See, sit in one corner of this Manikarnika and do it. The benefits that you get is multifold. Multifold. That is the greatness of this Manikarnika. What a beautiful Manikarnika of a gift of Kashi. Look at the way they are doing a service of just burning the human bodies there. It's not an ugly sight to see. It is a sight that gives you vairagya. 24/7, it is continuously been engaged there. Look at that Manikarnika by night. Now, this Manikarnika is again closely associated with Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya lived in Kashi for so many years, and he has written so many hymns on gods and goddess. One day, Adi Shankaracharya, along with his disciples, was coming down the Ghat steps leading to Manikarnika Ghat. As he came down the steps, he saw the Chandala coming there. This Chandala, who is the person who is in charge of the burning Ghat, he was fully drunk. His eyes were red and swollen. His ash was there all over the body with dirty clothes, stinking with alcohol, everything, and surrounded by dogs he was coming and holding a staff in his hand with which he used to burn the body. So it was an ugly, gory sight. So Shankara was walking down, he was walking up. They both came together to one particular point. Immediately Shankara's disciples said, Hat jao, move away. So the Chandala stood there firmly, looked at Shankara, and he said, whom do you want to move? Me or my Atman? That particular second, when he heard this word, Shankara prostrated before him and he composed this beautiful Manisha Panchakam, which talks about the profound philosophy of Advaita in this. The Atman is immutable energy present within me and everyone. It is none other than the Paramatman. The Atman itself is Paramatman. The pervasive, omnipresent energy embedded as a thread within all the lives and seated as a witness for everything. This Atman is the witness for everything. So I have realized my Atman. When I realize this Atman, whoever has this knowledge and remains steadfast in his wisdom of non-duality, he alone, irrespective of his stature in this world, and that is due to caste, creed, social classifications, he is the real perceptor and guru, worthy guru to be even worshipped by the gods. and that is Adi Shankara. And that happened in this beautiful Manikarnika. What a great place. As you see, the right of Manikarnika is this beautiful leaning temple, Ratneshwar Mahadev Mandir, a leaning temple of Varanasi. The sanctum is generally below the water most of the time of the year, except summer. The temple has developed a 9-degree slant over the period of time. The actual time of the construction of this temple is known. However, the priests claim that this was built by an unnamed servant of Raja Mansingh for his mother Ratnabai about 500 years ago, and some say it was constructed by Amethi royal family. According to another story, this is said that it was built by a servant of Ahalyabai of Indore, who by name Ratnabai. And when Ahalyabai came to know about this temple, she cursed Ratnabai and the temple because Ratnabai had named this temple on her name. Instead of giving the name of Ishvara to that, since she had given it as her name as Ratneshwar, she cursed the temple to sink. And that's what is happening here. We see here. Photographs of 1860 show this temple is not leaning. The temple is likely started leaning afterwards. And this is basically due to the waterlogging that has happened in the foundation of this particular temple. And we do not know how long this temple is going to be leaning at this degree or may going further down, or one day it may be even vanishing. So as long as we see this beautiful temple of Ratneshwar, we remember many stories. That's the beautiful Ratneshwar temple. You see this temple, a wonderful temple built of stone. Look at that temple is totally merged inside the water during the monsoon seasons. And that's Ratneshwar Mahadev Mandir. Now we come to the next part of the Manikarnika. One side you have Ratneshwar, other side. This new corridor, which is called as Vishwanath Corridor, is just been inaugurated a year and a half back. What a beautiful transformation that you could see here. The entire place is so beautifully done. Wonderful steps, even steps, leading directly from Manikarnika Ghat to Vishwanath Swami Temple. What a beautiful way it has been transformed with so much of facilities for the pilgrims and things like that. Hats off to the Prime Minister who had done this great service to his constituency from which he has done. It is a benefit for the entire universe. Many temples that were hidden inside the gullies of the Varanasi that was leading from this place were all brought out to light. So many temples have cropped up on this beautiful corridor and wonderful way in which it has been done. There's a beautiful statue of Ahalyabai Holkar, who renovated this beautiful temple of Vishwanatha after being destroyed by Aurangzeb. Her image, her statue is being made and kept here in this wonderful corridor of Vishwanatha. Not only Ahalyabai Holkar, Adi Shankara, who has played a major role in his beautiful Kashi, he is also remembered along with Bharat Mata. There are 3 beautiful statues of that and many temples that have been brought out to light when this corridor was built again here. And this corridor is glowing in the night, and it's a fascinating sight to see. What a beautiful way they have done this. Amazingly done. Wonderful sight. And that makes you feel that you should visit Kashi again and again. Now coming to the temple of Vishwanatha. Kashi Vishwanatha temple stands on the western bank of Ganga. It is one among the 12 Jyotirlingams known by the name Sri Vishwanatha Vishweshwara, which means the Lord of Universe. This is the beautiful Shikara of Vishwanatha Swami temple. The temple is considered as a central part of the worship of Shaivit culture. It has been demolished several times by the Muslim rulers, most recently by Aurangzeb, who constructed a Jnanavapi mosque on the very site where this temple existed. That's what you see here. The current structure of this beautiful Vishwanatha temple was built adjacent to this Jnanavapi mosque with the Shivalingam retrieved from Jnanavapi by the great Queen Ahalyabai Holkar of Indore. She beautifully renovated this temple in 1730. That's Vishwanatha Jyotirlingam inside the sanctum of Sri Kashi temple. A Jyotirlinga Kshetram is one that's formless Shiva, which he appeared as a huge shaft of fire. That's the Jyotirlingam. He is seen inside a pit. That pit is totally covered with silver and the golden Somasutra for the Banalinga of Vishwanatha. What a beautiful sight to see it. Each of the 12 Jyotirlinga sites take different names of the presiding deity based on the Puranas in different manifestations of Shiva. The lingam representing the beginning or the endless, symbolizing the infinitive nature of Shiva. And that is, this linga is the infinite Shiva, which is seen here. And this Shiva, look at that. Different Abhishekas for Shiva, Chandana Abhishekam. And this Shiva at Kashi is known as Bhairava Rupam. Bhairava Rupam is a Samhara Rupam. Why Samhara happens is to tarnish the bad and evil and give goodness to the people. So that Samhara Rupam is known as Bhairava Rupam. And this Shiva at Kashi Vishwanatha is a Bhairava Swarupam. Even 70 years back, the Bhairava Rupam was worshipped here in this temple. Every day early in the morning, the Chandala from the Manikarnika will carry the freshly burnt ashes in a small mud pot and walk up to the temple. He will come inside the temple. Once he comes there, the temple doors are open and he first offers this Mashana ashes on top of Shiva. He prays and goes. Then the whole thing is cleaned up and the puja starts. This was known as Chita Bhasma Puja, which was there in Kashi even about 60, 70 years back. They have 60 years back, they have withdrawn this particular practice. This Chita Bhasma Harti is done at Mahakaleshwar. But this particular area in Kashi, knowing as a Bhairava Swarupam, this Chita Bhasma Puja was being done in those days. Look at the beautiful Abhisheka. The Kashi Vishwanatha gets, throughout the day, the Abhishekas are performed with Ganga water. Kashi Kanda of Skanda Purana states how this temple came into existence. Shiva pierced his Trisul and created a well to get water for his puja. It was created at the time when even the holy Ganga has not descended into this earth. So, when he created this, pierced it and created a well, then the water from the well was taken for his regular pujas and worship. It is believed that Shiva delivered a spiritual sermon of Jnana to his consort Parvati by the side of this well. And that's why this well gets the name as Jnana Vapi. Sanskrit, Vapi means well, Jnana means knowledge or liberation. Thus, Jnana Vapi refers to the well of knowledge, which is there very much inside the corridors or the prakaras of Vishwanatha Swami temple. This temple is very close to the Jnanavapi mosque, and this particular structure is very adjacent to the Jnanavapi mosque of the Vishveshwara. Now see this temple. This is a magnificent temple of Vishweshwara, the very place where the Jnanavapi mark stands today. The earlier temple was built by Vikramaditya in 5th century, the Gupta king who had built it. In 1194, Qutbuddin Aibak defeated the Jayachandra in the Battle of Arsini and captured Varanasi, which was the center of Hinduism. Here, this army of Qutbuddin Aibak destroyed and demolished over 1,000 temples, and including the one of Kashi Vishwanatha. So it was demolished in 1194 for the first time. In 1296, under the rule of Iltutmish, the Hindu business community bribed the royal officers and they rebuilt the temple of Vishwanatha at the very same place. In 1436, Muhammad Sharik became an independent ruler of Junapur. During his reign, he demolished many temples in Varanasi, and that includes the Vishwanatha Swami temple also. The temple was again rebuilt after 125 years by Govardhan Das, son of Raja Todarmal. According to Mustaquddin, a historian who was Aurangzeb's contemporary, on 18th of April 1669, the Emperor Aurangzeb learned that in Banaras, the stupid Brahmins teach worthless book in schools. Both the Hindu and Muslim students come there to these schools from far and near places to acquire the satanic knowledge, which is taboo according to his religion. So he ordered to demolish this particular temple. On hearing this, the emperor, being the preserver of his religion, Islam, issued orders to demolish all the patashalas, Vedic patashalas, schools, temples, everything. And all these people were considered as kafir. Now, if you see this topographic picture of Varanasi, Vishwanatha Swami temple, this is the Jnanavapi mosque, the original place of Vishwanatha Swami temple. And this is the present Vishwanatha temple, which was built by Ahalyabai Holkar. She retrieved the Shivalinga and built the beautiful temple here. And this is the temple in existence now for the past so many years. And this Jnanavapi mosque is under dispute. Kashi Vishwanatha temple was demolished. Jnanavapi mosque was erected. The pillars from which the debris of the temple were made, the mosque was built in the very same place. When the Muslims attacked this temple, the priest of the temple uprooted the Shivalinga and brought out the bana and threw it inside the Jnanavapi mill and closed it up. Later, Ahalyabai Holkar came to know about this. She retrieved the Shivalinga from the Jnanavapi temple, Jnanavapi well, and she beautifully built this temple. Look at this Jnanavapi mosque. The western side of the Jnanavapi mosque is fully a Hindu temple, almost about 15-20 feet high. You can see that. The entire structure is that of a Hindu temple, and over which a brick and mortar structure of this mosque has been created by Aurangzeb. Look at that. It's a clear indication of an existence of a temple. Not even like Ram Janmabhoomi, where they had to prove the temple that was there inside, where here it is open, seen by the naked eye. Look at that. This is the portion of the temple which has been retained, and he built the mosque there. He demolished portions of temple and built it. And Nandi, the original Nandi of the old temple, is still facing the Jnanavapi mosque. It is there inside the Vishwanath Swami temple, but it doesn't face the Vishwanatha. It is facing the mosque, which shows very clearly that temple was demolished and the Jnanavapi mosque was built. Look at that. Today, inside the Vishwanath corridor, you can see the Nandi facing the mosque. In the year 1777, after a gap of 108 years, Maharani Halyabai Holkar of Indore retrieved the Kashi Vishwanatha Lingam from the Jnanavapi and built the beautiful temple adjacent to the Jnanavapi Mosque. And that's what we see here today. And this is the Nandi, the original Nandi of the Shiva temple, Vishwanatha Swami temple, facing the mosque, existing mosque today. Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab donated 821 kilos of gold in 1839, and with which the two Vimanas of Vishwanatha Swami temple were decorated in gold. Another sad feature of this is that the western wall of the Jnanavapi mosque is from the older temple. On the wall, there is an image of Sringara Gauri, which is considered as a very holy deity. Till about 1992, Hindus were allowed to worship the Sringara Gauri, applying kumkum all the 365 days of the year. However, from 1992, the administration has stopped this. Shringara Puja, Gauri Puja, is just confined to the fourth day of Navaratri. That is Vasanta Navaratri and Sharad Navaratri. The fourth day of the Navaratri alone, they are allowed today. Look at that Shringara Gauri there. As per law, the places of worship under the Special Provisions Act of 1991 does not prohibit this. We going and worshipping the Shringara Gauri. It's a wish of all our devotees that we again get the day when we go to worship Shringara Gauri, not only the Shringara Gauri, also the beautiful Vishwanatha Swami temple in its original place also. That's the beautiful Vishwanatha temple, which you see there, how beautifully it has been remodified, thanks to the Prime Minister, who has done an excellent job in creating a beautiful atmosphere around this temple. Amazing way in which it's been done. Today, it's a pleasure to go and see this beautiful temple. Wonderfully, it's been maintained. So beautifully it is done. The corridors are beautifully opened up. People to sit and meditate there. What sort of a vibration that goes around that place of Vishwanatha, around this sanctum of Vishwanatha. It's one that you have to be there to believe it and to experience it. And that's the beautiful corridors of the present Vishwanatha Swami temple. Now coming to Devi Annapurna. Nityanandakari, Varabhayakari, Saundarya Ratnakari, Nirdhuta Kiladhora Papanakari, Pratyaksha Madeshwari, Pralayamchala Vamshapavanakari, Kashi Puradishwari, Bhiksham Dehi Kripavalambanakari, Mata Annapurneshwari. This is the sloka on Devi Annapurni by Adi Shankaracharya. Annapurna Devi temple is located very close to Vishwanatha temple, has a great religious importance. This is the form of Parvati Devi, known for as goddess of food and nourishment, Annapurna. She gives the Purnatvam of Anna. That's nourishment, giving Anna. According to Puranas, once goddess Parvati closed the three eyes of Shiva in a playful mood, Shiva and the entire world became dark. So Shiva cursed her. So she became dark in complexion. And to get rid of this, Shiva asked Devi Parvati to go to Kashi Kshetram and do Annadhana there. Thereby, she gets her Sapa Vimochana. So that's why Devi came to stay here in Kashi as Annapurna Devi. Look at that beautiful Annapurna Devi. We saw these temples of Kashi were demolished. Similarly, this Annapurna temple was also demolished by Muslims. In 11th century, the original temple was totally demolished and it was rebuilt again by the 18th century only by Peshwa Bajirao in the Nagara style. And it was built as a Panchayatana temple where the worship of Devi Panchayatana with Shiva, Vishnu, Surya, Ganapati, everything is there in this particular complex. It is Mahashakti Pita of Devi Parvati here. And there are two idols of this Devi Annapurna installed by the Peshwas. The first Annapurna is one which you see in the sanctum down below. She is made of brass, and all the 365 days one can go and have a darshan of her and offer the pujas. Whereas there is another Annapurna which is made of gold, and that golden Annapurna is there in the first floor, and she is brought out to light only once during the year during the Annakota Utsavam. That is 3 days from Dhanteras to Deepavali. So she is being open to public view only on the 3 days, and that's a beautiful golden Annapurna which you see here on the slide. Now, Visalakshi temple, another concert of Vishveshwara, is dedicated to Parvati again in the name Vishwalakshi. She is also the one who has the large eyes. This is regarded as a Shakti Peetam and dedicated to the Divine Mother. The earrings of Devi Shakti fell here, and that's why it became a Shakti Peetam. And that Shakti Peetam, the presiding deity is Visalakshi. There are 4 incarnations of Adishakti and she's venerated and been worshipped in this form as Kamakshi, Meenakshi, Visalakshi, Nilayadakshi, and Padmakshi, and so on. So this is the most beautiful form of Devi Visalakshi. This temple was also totally vandalized and destroyed by the Muslims during the invasion, and a new temple for Visalakshi was installed by the Tamilian community from Tamil Nadu, and the temple is also designed and built like that with the entrance, everything. The South Indians venerated Visalakshi for ages, and Tamil people have renovated this temple and rebuilt it in 1971. And now we come to the Kala Bhairava. Devaraja Sevyamavana Pavanadi Ingri Pankajam Vyala Yagya Sutaram Indu Shekaram Diva Kripakaram Nada
Nagadadi Yogi.
Nagadani Yoginda Kashika Puradivasam Kala Bhairavam Bhaje. So this is Kala Bhairava. Kala Bhairava Mandir is one of the oldest temples in Varanasi, and the temple has great historical and cultural importance, especially among the locals. He is referred as the Kotwal, the policeman of Kashi. The temple is dedicated to Kala Bhairava, fierce form of Shiva, and he wears a garland of skulls, and he carries a club with the peacock feathers attached to it. The word Kal means death or time. Kal Bhairav means the one who removes the fear of death and time. And that is the Kala Bhairav of Kashipuri. Housed in the inner sanctum of the temple is a silver-faced Kala Bhairav Murti, who is seated on his Vagana, the dog, seen holding a Trishul and a Kapala in his hand. Only the face of this icon is seen decorated with flowers and jewelry. The rest of the icon is always covered with a piece of cloth, and it's never been exposed. Once Shiva wanted to punish Brahma for his arrogance, and he created this Bhairava form. And with that form, he plucked the head of Brahma, and that's Kala Bhairava. That form of Shiva as Kala Bhairava, and the Kapala of Brahma got stuck to his hand, and it fell only when Shiva, Kala Bhairava, entered to this place of Kashi. It automatically fell from his hand, and that's the story of Kala Bhairava here. The place Kapala Moksha Tirtha, which is close to this Kala Bhairava temple, is the place where you take a dip and you get rid of all the Brahmahatya dosha. Shiva then pronounced that Kala Bhairava will forever be in Varanasi to remove the sins of all his disciples. And that's why Kala Bhairava came to be here. All who wants to exist in this creation, even if it is God, needs to take the permission to exist here. And that permission is given by the Kala Bhairava, the Kotwal of Kashi. The next temple, very important temple, is Dandapani. The temple is very important in Kashi, along the likes of the Kala Bhairava temple. It is in the Vishwanath Gali, very close to Vishwanath Swami temple of Kashi. Dandapani was appointed by Lord Shiva as the administrator of the Kashipuri. So Shiva's residing place is Kashipuri, and Dandapani is the administrator of Kashipuri. So anybody who comes to Kashi will have to pray to Dandapani and take his blessings also. And that is Dandapani. Now we come to another important temple, the Bindu Madhava temple. Kashi Kshetram is divided into two. One half is Vishnu Kshetram, another half is Saiva Kshetram. Asi to Manikarnika is Shiva Kashi, and Manikarnika to Adikeshav Ghat is known as Vishnu Kashi in those days. Purana says Vishnu gave this Kashipuri to Shiva, and Shiva gave half the Kashipuri back to Vishnu, say, you also stay along with me. And that's how it is. Today, the temple of Bindu Madhava is in a pathetic condition, housed in a small place, something more, a glorified house, and Bindu Madhava is there inside that glorified house. It's very sad to note that once there existed a very huge temple for Bindu Madhava in the same Panchaganga Ghat, what you see here. Today, that temple was demolished by Aurangzeb, and he built this beautiful, what you call a mosque in his name, Alamgiri Mosque. And this mosque is built with all the pillars, everything that was demolished from this beautiful temple of Bindu Madhav. I'll tell you, the Bindu Madhav temple was such a huge complex, I believe. Look at that Alamgir mosque. You can see all the Hindu temple pillars being used here to construct this wonderful thing. The present temple of Bindu Madhav was constructed by Chhatrapati Shivaji, and he installed as my idol of the Bindu Madhav here. The original idol of Bindu Madhav is supposed to be such a beautiful one. 17th century records of Tulsidas says that Bindu Madhav stood there, who was almost 6.5 feet tall and made of saligram, totally made of saligram, and that saligram was given by Vishnu himself to Bindu Agni Rishi. And he brought it and made this Bindu Madhava here. And that was the greatness of that Bindu Madhava temple. Today, that's gone. The Alamgir mosque, which you see here, is what is existing there. Pathetic condition to see that. Tulsidas describes a 6 feet image of Bindu Madhav, who was dressed in silks and studded with jewels of diamonds and pearls. And he has glorified this particular Bindu Madhav in his Tulsi Ramayana. It's a Saligrama Vigraha. Agni Bindu Rishi brought it from Nepal, Muktinath, and made this beautiful temple here. There are Madhavas, very important Madhavas that we worship. That is, Bindu Madhava is worshipped in Kashi, Venu Madhava in Prayag, Setu Madhava in Rameswaram, Kunti Madhava in Pritapuram, and Sundara Madhava in Trivandrum. So these 5 Madhavas are supposed to be so important. And today we have lost this beautiful temple of Bindu Madhava. Though hue and cry is being made about this Jnanavapi mass trying to retrieve it, what happens to this Bindu Madhava temple, which also once a very holy place for the Vaishnavits? Today, you hardly see Vaishnavits in Kashi. Vashi was a place of Saivets and Vaishnavits. Vaishnavits came here to see Bindu Madhava, and there existed a beautiful temple. Today, that is gone. The Bindu Madhava temple is not existing. Are we not going to fight back to get that? Or see something is going to happen? God knows what is going to happen. Kashi has thousands and thousands of temples, out of which 56 of those are donated to Sri Ganesha. The special one being the Dundi Raj Ganapati or Dundi Vinayaka. It is believed that one should pray the obeisance to Dundi Raj Vinayaka after doing the parikrama of Kashi. This Ganapati is just located very close to Vishwanatha Swami temple. And that's a very beautiful, original, beautiful Ganesha, the earliest Ganesha of Kashi, which is to be worshipped. Kashi is the abode of Shiva. There are over few thousand Shiva temples and many Shivalingas open to sky on the banks of Ganga and other places. It is impossible to visit all these temples. There is sloka that states the must-visit temples of Kashi. Vishveshwaram Madhavam Dundim Dandapanincha Bhairavam. So these 5 temples are the most important temples that we saw here. This is what we saw in a presentation of the city of Kashi. Kashi leaves an ever-longing memory in your mind and keeps saying that you should visit Kashi again and again and again. And that is the greatest Akarshana Shakti of Kashi as a great holy land. The clean Ganga water, the beautified, well-renovated ghats of Ganga, the serenity and the tranquil mind that one gets, invite you again and again to the holy place of Kashi. Let's go to Kashi again and again. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and post your questions. Thank you very much for all of you to have been here with me. Thank you.